All right, good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get things started today. First wanted to welcome you to the public workshop for petroleum refinery community air monitoring we're doing this afternoon. Before we get started, wanted to thank you for participating in this workshop. This meeting will be conducted in person and in video teleconference at the district's Bakersfield, Fresno, and Modesto offices, as well as via Zoom. Before we begin, I want to go over some general instructions for the meeting. This meeting is being recorded. At the conclusion of the presentation, public comments will be taken. Staff will recognize any public attendee who has indicated they wish to speak. We will start with in-person participants in district offices and then move to Zoom comments. And finally, we will read any comments received via our webcast email. If you are participating in person, please be prepared to approach the podium and you will be recognized to speak. If you are comfortable, please give your first and last name and the company agency you're representing. For Zoom attendees, the district staff will be visible via Zoom and all attendees will be on mute. Please press the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen so that you may be recognized to speak. Be sure to unmute yourself as our clerk calls your name. If you are participating by Zoom phone conference, please press *9 to raise your hand so that you may be recognized to speak. Staff will call the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. Be sure to press *6 to unmute or mute yourself. Comments in the Q&A feature of Zoom will be read aloud by staff. Written comments may also be sent to webcast@valleyair.org. The mailbox will be monitored during the workshop and comments received will be read aloud by staff during the comment period. And before we start the workshop, we're going to go ahead and have some instructions given by our interpretation staff.
Okay. Hola, yo soy Cristina López, de parte de Equipo Lingüística. Esta tarde vamos a dar instrucciones de cómo escuchar la interpretación en español. Si estás en una computadora, en los controles de la reunión o el seminario web, seleccione el icono de interpretación que aparece a un mundo en la parte de abajo de la pantalla. Y luego seleccione español y silencie el audio original. Si está usando un teléfono o tableta, seleccione los 3 puntos para ver más opciones, seleccione interpretación y siga las mismas instrucciones de arriba. Y para hacer una pregunta o comentario, seleccione el icono de reacciones para levantar la mano. Gracias.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll just give a minute to get ready for interpretation before we start the workshop. So we will go ahead and call up the presentation, get that ready, and we'll start walking through it. So before we start here, just wanted to introduce myself. I'm John Klassen. I'm the Director of Air Quality Science and Planning. I'm joined by Chai Tao, Air Monitoring Program Manager, and Brad Dawson, Supervising Air Quality Instrument Specialist. And we're going to be presenting some details of our ongoing work for community air monitoring near petroleum refineries. So just to walk through a bit of what we're going to talk about this afternoon, we're going to share some initial concepts of some new community air monitoring that needs to be implemented due to 2 refineries that are now affected by our local district rules 4460 and 3200. We'll explain that. We'll give an overview of current petroleum refining in the San Joaquin Valley. We'll talk about Assembly Bill 1647 requirements, where that came from, and what that means for its implementation here in the Valley, and the local rules that we have in place, rules 4460 and 3200. Then at the end, we will want to receive some recommendations from you through this workshop or through comment later about potential locations for community air monitoring near these refineries that are affected by our recent rule amendments. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Chai, who's going to walk us through some more details.
All right, thank you, John. So a petroleum refinery is a facility that processes petroleum and converting it to a variety of products. It includes a number of processes, including fractionation, distillation of crude oils, redistillation of the unfinished petroleum derivatives, and also cracking process. And again, the products include gasoline, naphtha, kerosene, distillate, residual fuels, and various types of lubricants. In the Valley, we have 4 refineries. 2 of them are already already have community air monitoring, and those were affected by the previous rule, and those are San Joaquin Refining. That's at the number 3 mark in the northwest location, and it already has a community air monitoring station there located just southeast of it. And then number 2 there is Current Energy, and that's on the southeast side, and there's already a community monitoring just southeast of it as well, shown by the red star. The 2 refineries that we will be talking about as far as where to place the community monitoring is in 1 and 4. And so 1, at that location there is Bakersfield Renewable Fuels, also known as ALON, and one identified by number 4 there in the north location is Tricor Refining. And so these are the 2 that we'll be looking at in further detail. So just a little bit of a background on refinery fence line monitoring and the community monitoring. It all started with Assembly Bill AB 1647 that was approved by the Governor of California on October 8, 2017. And in that bill, it requires that petroleum refineries develop, install, operate, and maintain a fence line air monitoring system at and near the refineries in accordance to guidance developed by CARB and the local air districts. In addition to that, it also requires that the air districts design, develop, install, and operate and maintain a refinery-related community air monitoring. In addition to that, it requires that real-time data from these monitoring systems be made accessible to the public. So in response to AB 1647, the district adopted Rule 4460, which is specific to the fence line air monitoring, and also Rule 3200, which is for the community air monitoring fees. Both were developed through a public process and adopted on December 19th of 2019. And again, 4460 is for the requirements on the fence line air monitoring system, and Rule 3200 is it establishes a fee structure to fund the district's community air monitoring operation. So both rules 4460 and 3200 were amended last year on October 20th, 2022. And in that amendment, it included a new definition of a petroleum refinery and among other updates. And as a result of this amendment, Bakersfield Renewable Fuels and Tricor Refining are now subject to these rules. And so this is a community monitoring system that we currently have, and it monitors sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and BTEX, which is benzene, toluene, ethyl benzene, and xylene at the community air monitoring sites. And it collects all the data in real time, and it's been implemented at Current Energy and San Joaquin Refining. So these are some of the considerations that we need to make when we're selecting a location for community air monitoring. We have to consider, first of all, the permission of the landowner to place equipment on the property, and then establish a lease agreement with the property owner. We have to make sure that the location is secure to ensure that the equipment is protected. Location must also have access to power in order to operate the equipment. And we have to ensure that the site does not have any obstructions or any other local influences or sources of pollution that might influence the reading. For example, like being next to an internal combustion engine. And also, it should be located either downwind or nearby the refinery and near populated areas. So there's a variety of these factors that we have to look at, and these does make finding a location fairly challenging at times. And so these are all the factors we have to keep in mind as we look for the locations, potential locations for these two refineries. So let's go over the first one. So that's Tricor Refining, and that's in the northern area here, as shown by the red dot here. And again, these are really just preliminary ideas that were shown here, and really seeking the input from from you, the community, and the stakeholders on if there's any other locations that we should be considering. So one potential location that we were thinking of is shown here by the star on the southwest corner here. It's near the sensitive receptors. It should have access to power, and it's located at a school, and I believe this is Standard School. And being at that location, we think that we should be able to get a secure location where the equipment is well protected. The second refinery here is the Bakersfield Renewable Fuels, or ALON, and it's located at this location here more on the southwest side of Bakersfield. And again, on this one, it's downwind from the refinery, as you can see there with a star at that location there. And it's just right upwind of the community. You can see it's a fairly populated area right there, residential area there. And this location looks like there should be some access to power, and there's a building there. I think within that park area there, and also with some fencing around it. So it looks like it could be a fairly secure location. And just a side note on ALON here, or Bakersfield Renewable, is they're in the process of submitting, or they have submitted an application to impose conditions to prevent them from refining petroleum. And as such, if that permit once those permits are fully issued, they'll no longer be subject to the rule. But in the meantime, while that process is still going through, we are still going through the process of identifying potential locations and treating it as if it is subject to the rules. And John will finish off on this here.
All right, thanks, Chai, for those details. So just wanted to lay out a few details here on the next steps and what's coming up over the coming months and the year as we continue to work on this. So today we're having a workshop on expanded community monitoring at these two refineries that are now subject to the rule. We would like to give about a month for public comment. So if you have any ideas for locations near these refineries that would be good for community air monitoring, please get in touch with us. You can give us a call, an email, a letter. We'd love to hear your feedback on some different ideas that you think could be a good location. So please get that to us by September 22nd. We'll then take that feedback and update our community air monitoring plan that we already have developed previously. So we'll be updating that based on the feedback we get in these two facilities that are now required to have community monitoring. We'll update that plan. We'll put that out for public review and feedback sometime this fall. Finalize that during this next winter season. And in the meantime, we'll be purchasing equipment, getting the systems ready to go, with the goal of by spring 2024 having those new community air monitoring systems operating and collecting data and reporting data for the public to view. So that's what we're working with the schedule right now. So yeah, please get us feedback by September 22nd for these different location ideas, and we can work with that going forward. Brad Dawson will be your main point of contact. So if you have any questions, please reach out to him. You have our address here, phone number, email. We also encourage you to sign up at the listserv at the bottom of this slide, where you can get updates on petroleum refining, rulemaking, and different activities. That's a great place to get the latest information. And at this point, we'll go ahead and open it for any comments or questions. So first, we're going to check here if we have any comments from people in person that are attending, and there's nobody here in Fresno attending. So I wanted to check with Bakersfield. Do we have anybody attending in person in Bakersfield?
No members of the public in Bakersfield.
Okay, thank you for that. And are there any members of the public in Modesto?
No members of the public in Modesto.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll go ahead and go over to Zoom now to see if there are any questions or comments on Zoom.
Our first Zoom comment is from Laura.
Hi, Laura, go ahead.
Oh yes, are you going to put air monitor upwind and downwind? You see, the wind direction changes at night, because once when I came through by the Tricor refinery, the wind was coming from the southeast, blowing toward toward the northwest, and I just happened to see a plume. It was in the evening when I was coming back from air monitoring. And it was like a
Yeah,
really
thanks.
high levels of PM 2.5.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Laura, for that. Yeah, so what we were planning here is trying to find a good location that's the predominant downwind location from these facilities. I wanted to note too that these facilities will also be required to have a fence line air monitoring system, which will give an idea of the air quality and the different pollutant concentrations right by the facility, as well as a predominant downwind location. So there'll be a couple of systems in place to give us data in the region, which will assist with understanding the air quality near these operations. Thank you for that comment. Okay, nothing else on Zoom right now. Let me check the webcast email inbox, and I'm not seeing any other comments or questions here. Looks like we have another Zoom comment.
Our next comment is from Jesus.
Hi, I just had a quick question. I think it was for the Tricor one. How close was the school identified to the refinery, and is that the only school nearby, or the only yeah, the only school nearby?
Yeah, it's we haven't mapped out the exact distance, but it is, and it is basically almost right across the street from Tricor. I think there's a nearby residential, a few houses right across the street, and then from there, there's a park, a small park that potentially, I'm not sure if that's part of the school or not. And then the school is just right to the west of that.
Yeah, thank you, Jesus. Yeah, if you have any other suggestions for other nearby locations by Tricor, other schools or good properties that could work, please get in touch with us and let us know. We'd love to hear that feedback. Okay, seeing no other questions or comments on Zoom and no other questions or comments here at the webcast email inbox, we will go ahead and close the workshop for this afternoon, but this is not the end of the public comment process. So please, over the next month, by September 22nd, please let us know if you have feedback on locations near these facilities for community air monitoring. We'll take that feedback, update our community air monitoring plan, and then put that out for public review and comment later this fall as we continue to move forward with this. So thank you for taking the time to tune in this afternoon and for your feedback, and please have a great rest of your day. Thank you.